So anything you say from this point on can and will be held against you. I have had that said to me in my distant past several times. Okay, let's see. But we are not our stories anymore. We are not. All right, let's see. Okay, so hang on a second. I've had that. All right, I turn my mic back on. All right, we got 8 people in the house. It's filling up. Let's give them a couple of minutes. It sounds good.
Cool.
Got an exciting show today, everybody. Thank you for all your continued love and support and contributions as we move towards the world's first universal cast 24/7, 365. Multiple channels available on a handheld app. We're not operating on the linear. We have no deadlines, but we're going to keep pushing through. It's not about me. It's not about the other person on the screen when they come on. It's about all of us. It's an energy I call Soulogy, which is just the energy that we all share together. We're just mirroring the universe and our little end of the universe, perfecting, always perfecting. There's always an ing on everything. We never get there. We're always in the ing. All right. We got Heather Houston in the house, Mary Cooper, Joseph Pepper, Jenny Smith, Lee Marvin Hitchman, Richard's back on, Simonite, Carmela Liff, Geraldine Castillo, Trinity Unified, Cricket Holden. They're coming in fast. We got 30 plus now. Hello, everybody. Todd Medina, Soul Speaks 5D. It's a conversation, and today we're going to be talking to a beautiful divine feminine from San Diego, California, Nina Camille. She makes videos. She's out there. She's got a website. I'm going to get her to put those in the comments when the show's over so you guys can reach out to her and find out more about her. I want to welcome you. Thank you for sharing space with us today and honoring us with your presence.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I can feel this is going to be a great conversation. I'm known for asking people when they first come on, when did you wake up and realize everything wasn't the way we were told?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit since birth, but definitely more so about like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much like everybody else. 2011, 2012.
Yep.
Did you have the typical path of a bunch of traumas or that type of thing?
You know, I had my fair share of trauma when I was a child, but I had just done a really great job at repressing all of them until, the past few years. I think my awakening really came from looking around at my life that looked really, really awesome and amazing and so great on the outside and feeling totally empty on the inside. And I was like, oh shit, if I've already like won the game externally and it doesn't feel good at all, then there has to be something completely different that I'm missing. So scrap everything and start over.
Yeah. I've been down that path.
Yeah. I've done it a few times now, but
yeah. When you have everything and you're like, wait a minute, why do I feel hollow? And then you have nothing. Then you have nothing and go, why do I feel so good?
Yeah.
I captured this from your website. Experience freedom, raise your vibration, bring awareness to your limiting patterns, choose from your highest alignment, connect to your truth, learn to love and listen to your body, big one. Receive, release from your cyclical mind, create, design your life, live your fullest, freest, purposeful self, open, awaken, discover. That sounds like Soulogy to me. I love it. So are you a practitioner?
I am a space holder. So sometimes we use the word coach to describe that, but I have yet to find a very accurate description of what it is that I do for people. But essentially I facilitate massive transformation and miracles for people in their life and my own.
Wow. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
It really does. And I know you're big into, well, you mentioned the body here, and the body seems to be really coming into play here since the first of the year. A lot of people talking about, people have talked about they had ascension flu and ascension symptoms, but toward the end of the year and the beginning of this year, I mean, it's been like people are really, really feeling it in their body. And I, in my own right, I know I've started to really hear my body and listen to my body, which is, can't just be unique to me. I'm sure it's a collective thing. How long have you been in tune with your body? What's that been like for you?
I've always been very, very connected to my body, and physical movement has really been, I think, since I was a child, a way for me to manage my sensitivity is being able to get out of my head and come back into my physical vessel and express myself that way. So movement is really my creativity. It's, my body is my paintbrush. So it's given me a way to connect to myself, and now being a yoga teacher and helping people connect to themselves and listen to the inherent wisdom that lives in the body, especially lately with what you mentioned, things really coming into like a physical manifestation of what's going on within. If the body's just a symbol for, our point of focus of this consciousness that we are, I think as the body gets louder, it's harder to ignore what's going on in here. And so if you're not going to listen to what's happening in here, then it will start manifesting itself in the physical body so that we can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And it's been a big lesson for me not to resist. If you're hearing something, you might want to pay attention to it. And also one thing I learned recently, which I've seen people talking about, which is they're talking about how, when something comes at you, I got ill for about 17 days. I never get ill. Morgan had it for 9 days, and then I had it for 17 days. On the surface, like a infection, bacterial infection or something. Went through all the chakras, but it was really a gift, an exercise or a lesson in allowing, just allowing it to be, and actually helped me to just stay focused, pinpoint focus on where I'm at, who I am, what I'm a part of, and all that. But it's a big deal. I think it's going to be a big, big subject this year. I don't know if it's the last leg of ascension, but it really seems to be coming into play now. I see a lot of people talking about it. Now you do videos. You talk about the energy that's coming down or we're experiencing. What have you been experiencing? I mean, this is what taken off, and we can go back to probably the solstice, but certainly these first 17 days of January, have they been? Have they been like they've been for everybody else for you?
Usually, I tend to really get it hard and loud and fast. And being someone who's always holding space for others, I feel very fortunate that I always have this wide perspective of what's up for everyone. And so my experience of it rarely feels very alone, because I can see that we're all kind of in it together, which is nice. But I get it really big. Any area that I am resisting tends to just come really loudly, like right up in my face in the most extreme way possible, so that I get to look and bear witness to the thing that I'm ignoring or what I'm in resistance to. And, I get the choice to open to it or not. And that's really what I'm committed to, is always, always opening in the place that it's hardest to open. And so when you sign up for that level of work, the universe really delivers it to you. So
right, that's where the gold is, right? So how do you as a space holder, when you go through these things individually, and I think you're absolutely right, you're doing this from a collective perspective as well as your individual experience. How do you get through that? How do you deal with that stuff?
Well, holding myself gently and with compassion is a practice that I've really developed over the past 2 years that have allowed me to move through life's turbulence with more grace and softness, and knowing that all of this is for me. And in my commitment to being a space holder, everything feels like the work that is guiding me toward fulfilling my purpose at a deeper and more effective level. And so for me, it's almost like if something in my life is extremely triggering, or I find myself really wanting to shut down, it's usually, my witness is so strong that I can watch that too and just think, wow, look at how hard it is. This is what people feel like. Okay, cool. Now I have this experience of how challenging it can feel. Am I able to open here too? What is the experience like? What can I notice? How can I open further? And really just be present to my experience, so that if this comes up for a client or somebody that I'm holding, I can genuinely hold them in compassion, because I held myself in compassion there first. Yeah.
And now, how long have you been holding space for other people? Has it been quite a while?
Let's see. My business officially has been running for about 1.5 years. but I've been in this work of holding space for others and having space held for me for probably 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. And now, have you seen an evolution or a change in your clientele? I mean, collectively speaking, over the last few weeks or months?
Oh my gosh, yes. Huge up-leveling transformations. A lot of things that little pieces where people have been resisting have started to finally drop off, and everything has kind of started to click into place. So a lot of really okay, this is how it works moments in all of my clients, really, which is cool because I run a program. That's what Experience Freedom is. It's the name of my program, and it ended in November. And I'm getting lots of calls and messages from clients who completed that program and are experiencing tremendous results right now. And so things are still continuing to really, really unfold in a way that their opening and their awareness is starting to rapidly expand.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing from some practitioners. And then we had Chantel Renee on yesterday, and she was talking about how she's having so many people come to her that are just waking up now. And they're just like, what's going on? You know, she had an 85-year-old lady come to her that had a Kundalini experience. So there's a lot of good signs out there. There really is. Now, what is your program? What is that program that you referred to? What'd you call it?
It's called Experience Freedom. It's the name of it. It's essentially a 4-month container of support and opening. And I include a retreat in the 6th week. So we work together for 4 months every week, and people are held with me one-on-one. And we also do weekly calls as a group. And then we come together in person in the middle of the program, and we do just an epic, beautiful luxury retreat in paradise. Yeah. And I really do it up because I love to travel, and it's a big piece of who I am is experience and adventure and really just soaking in the richness that life has to offer. So that's the gift that I give. But really it's geared toward living a lifestyle of genuine freedom. And what does that mean for each individual? How do we take really, really good care of ourselves so that we're able to show up in the world with our gifts, feeling safe enough to express what those gifts are, and being willing to lose whatever's not in alignment with that. So lots of courage, lots of opening, and lots of expression.
Very cool. Very cool. Is that what you're going to be doing in Maui next week?
No, I'm celebrating a friend's birthday, but I might be researching locations for a future retreat because I always am.
Now, do you find in your community there in San Diego, are you finding on the streets, or like most of us where it's all on the internet, but I mean, are you finding evidence of people waking up, people talking about it and that type of thing?
There's a conscious community here in San Diego, but to be perfectly frank, I've never felt deeply connected to it. Yeah. My community is more of an online one, and I travel so much that I'll go on trips with people who are, part of our awakening team, and I'll go to where they are. And when I'm traveling and I'm on the road, I find that I connect very deeply, and the people who are a match to me just show up. And so I'm always experiencing those types of connections, and people come to me with those types of questions like, I feel like there's something happening and I don't know what it is. You seem to have something figured out. Can you share this with me? And so a lot of it is really online, but in person here in San Diego, I haven't settled into like an in-person tribe where I feel particularly connected in this space, but I'm also not here very often. So yeah.
Well, that's pretty much how I think it's been for everybody. I've done a lot of traveling over the last 2 years, particularly. And you're right. I mean, it's interesting though, because I've met a lot of people, on Facebook, and then I see them in person. That's interesting. And then I've gone to some places that you would consider high vibrational, and the conscious community there, so to speak, there's like two. There's like a minority one that's real. And then there's another one that's kind of, I hate to say it, but I'm not judging, but kind of plastic. I don't resonate with,
Yeah, I really, really connect to what you're saying in a major way, like big time. We call it like the hashtag spiritual, like woo-woo crap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fluff there, and I don't connect deeply in that space. I can usually sense very quickly if there's something disharmonious in someone's presentation of their spirituality. And if it doesn't like truly feel real here, then it's just not for me. So I'm so with you there.
Yeah, and you're choosing what you feel, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have sovereignty. I feel the same way. Now, you know, you said you were sensitive in the beginning, and a lot of people have said that on this show, and they kind of got away from it, went 3D, then came back. But you also mentioned your sensitivity in regard to your method of movement and how that helps you. What are those sensitivities like for you? Is it a galactic thing or divine essences? Is it colors? I mean, what's your communion look like with the universe?
Feeling. A lot of it is feeling. So I receive like right here through like heart, solar plexus, like, and it's been like that since I was very, very young. And I definitely turned it off through my like teens and 20s with drinking and partying and anything I could do to just manage how deeply I was feeling everything. That's a good chunk of my life. And so now that that's all gone and I've agreed to be attuned to my sensitivity and acknowledge it as a superpower and really hone that, it's still something that I am very aware of and noticing how and when I manage it. And I find that, you know, I've never felt particularly home on the earth. There's just, you know, I feel like I'm here and doing this thing and it's cool, but like it's always felt like a game to me. It's always felt like I'm here to play and I'm here to make the best of it and to have fun. And I know that this is not all that there is. It feels like a big illusion, and that's something that I've always felt. And so I find that physical movement brings me back into my human experience a little bit more, where I can just kind of like neglect that it's even a thing. And I have a lot of energy. Just, I've always been very high energy, very physical. And so for me, being expressive in my movement and having a place to put that energy makes me feel incredibly settled in my own vibration. And it, you know, slows the mind down for me in a major way.
And these videos you've been making, some of the videos that Morgan was telling me about, you've been making about the energies. What do you see is happening right now? What do you feel is going on? Yeah.
So what Morgan saw was I did a Facebook Live with Zachariah, my best friend and my buddy in Awakening. He, you know, really has led me down this path and taught me a lot of what I know and how I hold space for others. And we did a live last week talking about the current energies. And so what we have been picking up now is essentially a level of freedom that we've never experienced on the earth before, ever. And that our powers of manifestation and creating are so heightened that some of us, you know, we have an opportunity to really create whatever we want with no rules whatsoever, without dragging any of the shit that we have on our backs into this next, you know, iteration. That we, if we choose it, can be completely free of it and move forward. However, that can be tricky for the human mind, which is patterned, and it's used to keeping its patterns because it thinks that that's what's kept us alive for so long. And so what I'm noticing is, if we aren't choosing from this place of freedom what we really want to create, what is our absolute yes in our heart, then what we might end up doing is just recreating the old patterns in the old ways. And so that's just how free we are, that we have all this momentum that we really get to choose. But if we don't know that, we might just end up rewiring all the old patterns and replaying out all of that old karmic crap when we don't necessarily have to. So you know, our intention in sharing that is really to remind people that you have that sense of freedom right now and to use it wisely. Be very conscious and intentional about where you place your attention right now, because we do get to choose. And, you know, I tell people, be careful where you point that thing, because it's really, really powerful.
I was telling Morgan wrote a great post yesterday about basically about projection, and then we went through some stuff last night, you know, as we were talking about, and I said, you know, that's what I'm getting. You know, we're projectors. You know, we're projectors, not in a bad way, but now we can be conscious projectors. The other thing I love what you said too is when you talked about the heart. You know, if it aligns with your heart, go with it. And that doesn't make sense. You know, I've been saying for a few weeks now, if it doesn't make sense, do it. And the other thing I find interesting too that you bring up is those patterns or those things really that hold us back. That's both an internal thing, from my standpoint, and an external thing, like these lawless laws and rules and regulations and all that stuff. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, knowing that we have a personal power and responsibility to be part of changing that whole landscape as well. But yeah, I like what you said about that. That's good stuff. People have been referring to this year, a couple of people, as the year of expansion, the year of sovereignty. So I think that's what resonates too with what you're saying. I think it's almost like the gates open now, and so on the subject of manifestation, materialization, which you seem to have been frequenting, bumping into, and I can identify that a little bit. You try to sustain it a little bit longer. What's your approach on that? What's that been like for you? Is it improving for you? Is it improving for your clients that you're seeing?
That's a really great question. I have felt it come in waves. There was a period about 3 years ago where it felt like every single thought that came through my mind happened like in an instant. And it was like, oh my gosh, okay, holy shit. Like, now what can I do? And so there was a lot of momentum in my ability to create and manifest. And then what ended up happening from that was like a deep desire to give it away. And so now I have noticed that in my, intentions or manifesting or however you want to describe it, it's requiring a new level of surrender and trust and not relying on the mind so much for answers or direction or things, just like you said, making sense. Now I've gotten to a place where I can trust my intuition, and there are a lot of moves that I've been making that make no sense at all, that sound insane. And my mind is like, what the are you doing? Like, this is crazy. But then I'll follow it and I get there and all of these gifts unfold. And while it might be very challenging, it's the path that I've chosen. And it really is what I've asked for, at a higher level. And so, relying on spiritual truth or answers that don't exist in the mind, really, really trusting and surrendering to what is, and knowing that, manifestation is speeding up, but it isn't instant. If every time we thought a disharmonious thought, an anvil dropped on our head, we would probably, get our minds right a lot quicker. That's not always how it works. And so really inviting in that place of intention, of prayer, of ritual, of trust, that for me has been a really, really key part. And nothing I want to create will be created unless I just trust that it's already done. If I don't have that piece, then I'll block it from being created. So that's been a fun dance.
It is fun. And to me, it's like, I try to explain this in my travels as I'd be interacting with Morgan, and like, I got this magic, I can feel it. And I'm getting glimpses of it, and I can write it here, write it there. I'm told, go here, go to Sedona, go to Kauai. And it doesn't make any sense. So the other part of it is like I'm part of a team trying to expand Soulogy. And so we're going into these traditional, let's have a conference call and what are we going to do? And let's plan this and structure that. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So once you get past the damning of yourself and judging yourself, and you say, wait a minute, this is a new language. Something's going on here. So I love what you say about if it's in the heart, you just kind of hold that frequency, and it makes no sense. It just like, if you do that, you've got the right intention, then it all just starts coming to you. But it's a work in process just in trying to understand it. I don't know if that's how you feel, but it's like you can only look just a few days ahead. You can't, and like you said too, there's no guarantee in this new game, this new paradigm, for lack of a better word. There's no guarantee. It's the opposite of what we had before. You said, hey, I had all this stuff. I made it to the top. I had everything that you could want. And I was, I had a big hole inside. There was nothing there. But so it's like the opposite, now it's like you don't have anything and the feeling is great, but it just, how do you, I feel like it's getting used to it is probably for me, I don't want to say the biggest challenge. I don't see it as a big challenge, but that's the thing. how do you get used to this new way of life?
Yeah, it can be so scary to the mind. Like, it's horrifying because things need to make sense, right? On an intellectual level. And, I was somebody who really relied on my intellect for a large part of my life while I was ignoring my gifts. Like, no. Those will make me weird and I won't be loved. So we're just going to be smart and just do the thing that the brain says. And, that only got me so far to that place where nothing felt that great. And so as I've started to open, one of the ways in which that I've been able to be in that constant state of surrender and trust, even when my mind is flipping out, is really committing to only doing things from my inspired yes.
Yeah.
Where if I'm going to take an action because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't, I absolutely don't do that thing because it's so clear that I'm moving from a place of lack, right? It's like, do this conference call this way or take this meeting even though you don't feel up to it, because if you don't, you'll fail and you'll lose clients and then you'll be broke and then you'll die. Okay, I'm definitely not because that's not coming from a place of inspiration. So if I'm living this lifestyle of freedom and that's what I'm teaching and that's what I'm trying to embody on a daily basis, it means only taking action from a place of my inspired yes. And that's it. And so if I don't have that inspired yes, I just don't do anything. I don't do it. That can be really scary to the mind too, but I can trust that. I can trust that if I'm coming from lack, it's not the thing to do. And so wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good one. If you don't know what to do, don't do anything. And then the other one that I'm finding, especially interacting with some of the people that I'm collaborating with, is it's okay to say no. We don't want to say no, like you were just talking about in your own dialogue with yourself. But we also came from a place we don't want to say no because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. Oh, what would they think? But I think what I'm seeing is there's a telepathic link now that people are, allowing people to say no for the time being. I can't do that today. I need to go lay down today. The energies are killing me, or whatever the case is. Now you deal with a lot of people or clients over the last year, like you said. Are you seeing people taking on their power now? I mean, in the old paradigm, I don't want to say wounded healer archetype paradigm, but you might have a client for weeks and weeks and years and months or whatever. Are you seeing people learning or recognizing their power, engaging their power, and actually taking on their own, physician heal thyself type approach?
Well, in my experience, I am, because a huge part of what I do and the way that I do it is take a stand for people and their power. And so, I'm not someone who has your answers. I'm someone who has the questions to get you to see that you actually already have them. And so, having a reflector like myself or like the ones that I have, who's willing to take a stand for you all of the time and really just not take your, wounded healer answer. I think that's, part of what has been so effective in the lives of my clients is that I know what their truth is and I can see that all of the time. And that's what I hold my attention on, not believing their story at all.
Yeah. The stories don't matter, right? It took me 2 years working with Morgan to figure that one out. But I came from a place like you where I used my intellect for years and years of my old career. And it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. You just, I can't tell you how many times we've just blown up Soulogy, blow it up and start over, blow it up and start over. But it seems like this new frequency, this new collective consciousness or expansion is starting to affect not just the individual, but into the collaborations as well. I think that's a big word for this year too. Are you working with people, collaborating with people in your work?
Yes. I love that you said that. Co-creating is really where it's at for me. I like to do only what I want to do when I want to do it with whom I want to do it with, which means delegating everything that needs to get done in my life and in my business to people who might actually really want to do those things. Mm-hmm. And so co-creating and co-facilitating is a huge part of what I also am inviting more of in for this year as well. So last year, my business did really well and I did a lot of it myself. And so this year I was like, okay, we can do that. And now we can choose to bring in people that we trust and co-create. And so part of what I was inviting in is doing more interviews, more speaking engagements, facilitating other people's retreats and events as opposed to just creating my own. And already in the first 3 weeks of January, that's like boom, boom, boom. A lot of them have started to come up. And I think it's because all of us want that. We all want to feel safe in what we're creating and to feel as though we're together in it, because, union and oneness is what our truth is. The more that we get to collaborate and co-create, the closer we feel to our truth. So it feels better.
Yeah. It's a quickly changing landscape. We can say we've gone from linear to quantum. I don't know. I'm not big on labels either. This, you can't label anything. There's nothing we can even explain with what's happening. But it's interesting to see. All right, now how about your perspective on with your journey? Your perspective on the whole divine feminine frequency reestablishing itself, reasserting itself, leading the masses on an individual level and collectively. What's your perspective on that?
It's been such a huge, huge piece for me. I, like most people in the West, was very, very of the mind, which is masculine. So I was leaned really far into my masculine. And over the past 2 years, really learning to recalibrate that and move toward my feminine and my real nature, who I really was at my core, who was so much softer and receiving and just softer feels like the most accurate way to describe it. Yeah. And it's felt like ease and grace because I've been able to receive instead of just create, less doing, more being. And that's felt really, really good for me. And it's allowed me a really unique perspective because I hold men and women, and I do that together as well. So my program is co-ed, and I haven't seen a lot of programs that are like mine that are co-ed in that way and doing retreats that are also co-ed. And so being someone who was very of the mind and intellectual and in the masculine, and I was surrounded by men, I have so many beautiful platonic male friendships. It gave me a way to understand the masculine, but now I can hold him in my feminine, which feels better, to him so much better because that's what he wants, is that divine mother to be held, and she wants to be witnessed by him. And so being on that path for myself has allowed me to hold space for others in such a more profound way. And it's less about doing, which is great because, less exertion and more just being what is.
Yeah. Holding space.
Yeah.
Now, and in terms of the masculine part of you that you extracted from, have you seen the true masculine part of you start to play a role too?
Yeah, I don't know if I extracted from it as much as lightened my dependence on it. And there has been almost this recalibration phase where as I swung far, it was like, oh no, now I'm over here where I started to seek it, outside of myself almost. Yeah. Like, oh, now I want to be held. I need the presence, the witness, and always coming back to sourcing my safety from within and remembering that I'm it, that I'm not looking for his love. I'm looking for his love, like capital H. And I am that as well, that I can generate from within. And in that place of wholeness, that's the place from which I would like to attract beautiful co-creators, where I'm balanced in my own being and not sourcing safety or presence outside of myself, that I get to give that gift to myself and then create with people who are also in that balance as well, as opposed to, the objectification and trying to balance our polarity in another being.
Yeah. And are you seeing more men step to the plate now? I mean, I know for a long time it's been, pretty lopsided. It seems to be headed, the pendulum's swinging back a little bit. Are you seeing that in your own right?
I am. I definitely am. I have witnessed some really, really beautiful hearts of men in my life, or who have felt safe coming to me with how they're feeling, and the opening that occurs when men and women are in presence of one another, and the healing that just happens when they're able to be witnessed by one another when they don't have expectations or needs from one another, because these people aren't in relationships, they're not family, they don't have agreements in place. They're just there to open and to see each other. And so I've noticed a really genuine understanding from the masculine of the feminine. And he's really showing up and wanting to show up and being willing to ask what that looks like and to hear the answer and to, release a lot of shame that has been carried by the masculine, and it's still there. It's rampant, really. It's and men and women. The masculine shame is just there. But I absolutely have been seeing so many men starting to settle into their own femininity and realizing that that's actually okay and that it's necessary, and absolutely step up to the plate in that. So it's been really, really cool to witness. And I'm so grateful to be alive right now where we're at, where we're watching such an extreme transition from what was to what is today and seeing what's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what it's going to look like in 5 to 10 years, but I know it's going to be so different from anything we've ever seen before. And that feels really exciting to me.
Yeah, it is exciting. And I don't know how, I mean, again, I am extracting from linear. So I think about these things, 5 years, 10 years. I mean, where we stand today, but I mean, this thing's moving so fast, and that's a big part of it. I've noticed with myself and with other men, one of the things I've noticed when that shell cracks and they do start to open up and is, I'm a big believer in our limitlessness, but when I say this, what I'm saying is in that transition for him, capital H, he to know what his limits are in that moment. We're transitioning, so we're not there. It's a step up. So one is that, and the other one I see is when he knows he needs, when not to be afraid to ask for help. And when I mean help is someone like you or someone like Morgan, where you can just say, or another guy or another person, and just say, hey, can you hold space for me? I need to get something off my chest. I think that's that whole, or starting to crack the shell, that whole shame, that masculine shame thing that you're talking about, because that's had a huge impact. And to your point, that's affected everybody, especially in the West, where we're at here.
Absolutely. And I just have such a huge place in my heart for men in this world. And I just love them so much. And what I've seen is, what women want is this steady, protecting provider who's present and shows up all of the time. And then we also have now more than ever started to ask him to show up just as he is, and to express and to communicate and to, open. And so what I've noticed in a lot of men is that they're like, well, how the f- am I supposed to do both of those? Like, you want me to be this steady, protective provider and just to show up at 100% all of the time and fall to my knees and tell you how afraid I am? Mm-hmm. I can't be both. And so, for women, us starting to take responsibility for our needs and being very clear on what that means for us is going to allow men the space to show up to what we want. But it's not until we get very clear and very responsible for our own experiences. We're cyclical beings. I'm a different person every 7 days for 28 days. That's how it is. That's my experience of life. And the more responsible I can be about that and create a space where the men in my life can operate within that safely, then everybody gets to relax and everyone's job is a little bit easier. He's clear on what it is that would make us happy. And she knows that she has a chance of getting it because we've taken responsibility for ourselves and our happiness. And now he gets to show up as he is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. It's like moving from, the old way where we came from we were speaking two different languages.
Absolutely.
And, so that allowance, I don't want to say the demand, but what that a second part that she asked for, I mean, there is, as Morgan told me many times, pull your finger out. So, but there is an element of there is an element of, hey, step up. But there's also, and I love the way you put that, where for me, and I had a show a couple of days ago with a couple of friends of mine, and we talked about that. We talked about that transition. We talked about, hey, this isn't that easy. I mean, we feel like we're a piece of shit sometimes. We feel like that, whatever we do is not enough. And so I think it's becoming one language, is what you're saying. I think the fact that she's taking on or removing that dependency on his energy is allowing him to pick up the energy that she has, that has served her. Women's intuition, the heart you're talking about, the feeling you're talking about that you've had since you've been born, allows it to open up in him. And so we find ourselves in a situation where now we're all speaking the same language more and more every day. So that's great. That's what I love about this show, because these human, relaying these human experiences, to me, carry the highest activations more than any download, channeling, or transmission we ever receive. I don't care who we get it from, because we are that. We are that.
And this is the embodiment of it. It's the expression of that through us and our human experience. And one of my favorite parts about working with men and women is being the bridge, is noticing, like, hey, even in language, the way that you are going about getting what you need from him is making him feel like a failure immediately, and he can't win, which means he's not going to show up to it. So what if we do it this way? It would feel really good for me if blank. And, sometimes just little subtle shifts, because people respond to energy, not words. Those little shifts can create, like you said, a space where we both actually get to show up and receive and give what we want from a place of choice and freedom, and not from a place of you're bad and wrong if you don't do this. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, and I've had, I've had plenty of these conversations, but, and I'm definitely on the student end of it, but again, I'm the reflection of that masculine energy. So this is where I'm coming from. But to hear her say, for instance, I need this and this and this if we're going to do this, and if you can't do it, I'm not judging you. That was, like, show up as you are, like you said, just show up as you are, and the level of love is not going to change. It's still there. It's just, it is what it is in that moment. It doesn't mean that we can't get there, or you can't get there, or whatever, but this is where I'm at. So I think that plain speaking is a big part of what's happening too. And I love what you said about the embodying. How important is it to embody these things that we're pulling out of the ethers?
I mean, it's the only reason why we're here, right? For me, if we've signed up for this, if we're receiving this in the ways that people like you and I clearly are, the only reason we're being given it is so that we can express it and share it. We only get to go home if we all get to go home. Yeah. And so for me, this is what I've signed up for, and I know that. And so every single thing I do is a reflection of our truth, of what is. And so, the human experience is nothing more than a reflection of that. It's just an expression of it. And so, we're allowed to screw it up repeatedly, luckily. It's how much closer can we get to the truth and still be a human, because being a human inherent in that implies separateness, right? Yeah. I'm Nina in this body, and you're you, and you're over there on somewhere else, but none of that's really true. And so it's like, if we're going to be here and we're going to remember and receive this, let's find a way to share it and to express it, and really let this being a human thing be a little bit lighter and more comical than it needs to be,
Yeah, that's true. Humor and laughter, that's a big part of, it was for me, but I think I didn't laugh for 10 years. And then, I went on my journey, I went on the streets for a couple of years, and I started laughing. And that was like, this just isn't that serious. There's something else that you said, about the human part, and I love that. And I've been saying for a few months that, I came to the realization, hey, given all this stuff that we share and all the stuff that I receive and all this stuff, right? I'm still only going to get to be Todd Medina one time. I might be able to pull from this essence, Todd Medina, in a future incarnation if I want to pull some love or courage or power or perseverance, or check in with a guide called Todd Medina in a previous life that got his ass kicked over and over. And how did you persevere? But I'm only going to get to do this one time. And that to me really embodies the epitome of the essence of now, this moment now. This is all we have. This is where the magic is. And that's, to me, the veil that's lifting. Where we're letting go, like you said, and that mind is not controlling us. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that we're in for an incredible ride. I think this year is going to be. It already is. I mean, it really is. What do you talk about? You help people you facilitate events. What type of events do you collaborate with people on, and what type do you do besides? Are they just the retreats that you do?
Yeah, so I hold people one-on-one. I create my own retreats, and then I facilitate at other people's retreats and experiences. Because it's just being in circle with others and in this space always feels so powerful, especially because a lot of this connecting is happening over the internet. And so then when we get in person together, it's like, oh, this is what this feels like. And it feels good. So, I co-create with my coaches and space holders. And really, if someone comes to me and they have an idea and it feels like a yes, I'm in. Like, I'm such a trigger puller that if someone emails me and says, hey, would you speak at this event, and it feels good, then I say yes, even if it's scary or if I'm totally unprepared and I have no idea what it's about. Even, this interview, we had never met before. I had no idea what we were going to talk about or what the intention was. And I was just like, yep, cool, I'm in. So as far as the in-person experiences I offer, it's mostly retreats. And then all the coaching that I offer is online. And yeah, I'm just so open this year to see what kind of lands in my lap. And that's usually how it comes for me, that something just comes up and I say, yep, that's a yes. And I just do it. The Maui trip next week was one phone call yesterday and our flights were booked within 2.5 minutes. So,
that's the new way.
Yeah.
That's the new earth right there.
Yeah. And it feels so good to do that. And I love feeling like a magnet for people who are creating beautiful things in the world. And I'm so excited to support other people's visions as well. So for me, coming in as a facilitator, holding the intention setting or the spirituality piece or the yoga or the meditation for somebody else's created experience or retreat is something that feels so good to me. And being a natural space holder, I tend to set the context wherever I am. And so trusting myself and operating within that and contributing in that way is something that just feels really good and makes me really excited to be here.
You seem like with the way that you received through the feeling, that you'd seem like you'd be very connected to the earth.
It's funny because my earth element is it's the weakest in my chart, my body. Yeah. And I love the earth so much, but I almost love it from the perspective of like not being of it, that it's a place that I'm visiting. And so that's always felt real for me. I'm definitely a fire and water person. And I absolutely love the earth, but I don't feel like I'm from here at all.
That's the you hear that a lot on these programs. The black sheep of the family. I woke up. What am I doing here? Get me out of here. All that stuff. Do you have those moments? I had one about a week ago, and I think right after that eclipse, I actually had a profound with Morgan. I had a profound experience, dimensional experience, where I got filled with golden creation particles. I went into my body, and I woke up the next morning, and this big fear bomb dropped on my head. And I just took a walk. It took me all day, and I did. I went to the beach, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. Stick a fork in my ass. Get me out of here. I'm done. Do you ever have those moments?
Yes, I definitely do. And I know that the more I open to what's really real for me, not the more often they come, but the more I allow that to just be what is in that moment. And I had a huge one on Christmas, actually. I spent the whole day by myself in my apartment in San Diego. I didn't want to go to where my family was. I didn't want to go to someone else's family. I was just like, I'm going to stay here. And I had no idea just how powerful the energy was going to be that day, just in the collective. And being someone who's so deeply feeling, I was so in my story of being alone and being homesick. And I was homesick, not for like a home that was here, but like, this isn't even real.
Right.
Point of this. I'm not from here. I don't need to be here. What's the point? Like, I'm just done. Like, I don't even care anymore. This is stupid. Like, I'm over it. And I just cried the whole day, just cried and cried and cried and cried, while also kind of watching myself and the ridiculousness of it. And I also went to the beach, actually, because that's my like moving meditation, is just to walk the beach. And then I came home and I really just let myself be in my story of aloneness and just experienced what that felt like. Like, okay, this is what it feels like to feel so alone that you just don't care anymore. Wow, this is crazy. Okay, this is where we're at. And then, you know, a lot of lightness followed because I allowed all that energy to move. But I think that was the most real, like, I don't even care, I'm just over this right now experience that I had and really allowed myself to just be there.
Yeah, that's what I even had a little one this morning. It wasn't a big one at all. I had gotten some information from a family member, and it doesn't even matter what it is. It just I felt this fear, and I'm not really a fearful person. I haven't been, but this little fear, you know, that nausea hits you, and you're like, oh man. So I told Morgan, I said, I gotta go take care of this. And I walked outside and I took a few steps and I said, okay, so this is what you're feeling. All right. All right. So I said, okay, I'm going to feel it. And then I just kind of heard the words, it is what it is, man. Like, chill the fuck out. I was like, okay. And I turned around and I saw a white bird crossing my path. I thought, okay, here we go. I'm done. You know? And then another one I had was a couple nights ago, or a few nights ago, when I was telling you about that period. And I went outside, and I'm not going to BS about it. I poured myself a drink, and I sat outside, and I was looking at the trees, and I'm picturing them as like Star Family or whatever, my team or guides or whatever, my friends. And I said, hey man, I'm ready for y'all to show up. You know, I need to understand it. I need to have a little more clarity. Tell me what the hell's going on. And the next night, you know, this thing appears above our heads. So, you know, that's another thing too, is it's a different language. You know, we're moving into that straight telepathy, that straight intuitive, which is how most of us receive you feel. Those aren't words, you know, so that takes a little getting used to.
Yeah.
So it's,
I love what you just said about asking too. That's been a huge part right now, is when people are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the path is. My choice isn't clear. Usually I just say, well, why don't you ask? Intend for it to be made clear to you.
Yeah.
Pray, do a ritual, ask the trees, the stars, God, whatever you refer to, your angels, your guide, whatever word you use for it, ask for it to be made clear, and then trust that it will. You know, we don't need to rely on the mind or ourselves all of the time. We can intend to be shown something. And, you know, every single time that I move into that space, something beautiful happens where I'm oh, I am held. Oh, wow. Okay, that worked. Now I feel safe and trusting, and I can surrender.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that actually occurred to me because I've never been very, you know, traditional, you know, like meditation every day and stuff like that. But on the first, you know, we've been going through quite a bit of stuff like everybody. And I woke up on the first and I said, I heard, you know, just ask. So every day I take a moment since the first and I ask. You know, I ask for clarity. I ask for whatever, you know, whatever the list is. And you're right, you know, and it's been around. That's been around for years. And sometimes the most obvious things are right in front of our faces. You know what I mean? Knocking the door will be open. I think that was written, thousands of years ago. But I love I love talking to people who are, you know, in the game, you know, so to speak, and retain their humanity, and can laugh and can cry and can be honest and say, I got my ass kicked on Christmas Day and I was all by myself. And hey, you know, that's real. And that's gold, you know? So I just want to say thank you for, you know, honoring us with your presence and sharing space with you. I would extend to you, like I said, many people. Soulogy is a platform. It's expanding, and it's here for people like you. So if there's anything we can do to help you promote what you're doing, whether it be a regional event or anything. We've got friends everywhere. I would love to collaborate with you again in the future. It's been a nice conversation, a great conversation full of activations and soul codes. And I just want to say thank you again for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a joy and felt really, really good. And thanks for creating a space where we can be both highly spiritual beings and also absolutely human.
Yeah, right.
That was real for me. And yeah, my program is starting next week and I still have a couple spots left. And if anybody feels touched by anything that I have shared, I am such an open door for connecting with people. Anybody who wants to learn more, have space held for them by me, I'm always so open to connecting with people. And so, yeah, I'm totally here, and there's no separation between me and everybody else and you and the pillows behind me. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Very welcome. So if you would put your links on your comments, put your links on your program, or your link for your program. If you need 2 more people, just state it. I'd also encourage you to go into the Soulogy group and put it up there. There's a lot of people in there every day. So we're here to co-create and collaborate and support each other. Thank you very much for spending time with us today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us live and on the replay. And until the next time, thank you. Take care.